Los Angeles Mafia, the Invisible Empire. Los Angeles is famous for Hollywood, palm trees, and sunshine. But beneath the surface, long before celebrity scandals and cartel wars, there was another power quietly shaping Southern California. No flashy gangsters, no public bosses, no bodies piled in the streets, just discipline, silence, control. This is the forgotten story of the Los Angeles crime family, and the man who built it by doing the one thing no other mob boss could: staying invisible. Ignatio Jack Dragna was born April 18, 1891, in Corleone, Sicily. This wasn't just a birthplace, it was an education. Corleone was a land steeped in the old ways, a culture of honor, silence, and a deep-seated distrust of outside authority. It was a place that produced generations of mafia leadership, men who understood that true power wasn't loud, but pervasive. Dragna absorbed these lessons into his very being. He learned that respect was earned not through boasts, but through quiet consistency and unwavering control. He arrived in Los Angeles in 1914. The city he found was a world away from the ancient hills of Sicily. It was a sprawling, sun-drenched metropolis in the making, a chaotic landscape of orange groves, oil derricks, and the flickering promise of Hollywood. At the time, it was a frontier town for organized crime, largely ignored by the established East Coast syndicates who saw it as a distant, unsophisticated backwater. They couldn't have been more wrong. Dragna didn't come looking for fame. He came looking for opportunity. He saw a city ripe for the taking, not with guns and bombs, but with patience and strategy. While New York mobsters fought bloody, headline-grabbing turf wars for control of a few dense boroughs, Dragna saw a different path in Los Angeles. The city's vast, sprawling geography made it impossible to police effectively. Law enforcement was a patchwork of disconnected, often competing agencies. And most importantly, the growing immigrant communities, feeling isolated and overlooked, trusted their own more than they trusted any badge. They were a nation within a nation, and Dragna intended to be their unseen government. From the very start, Dragna's philosophy was clear: build small, tight, and disciplined. His approach was the antithesis of the East Coast model. No oversized, unmanageable crews, no unnecessary violence that would attract the press, and above all, absolutely no headlines. He was building a business, not a spectacle. His empire would be founded on extortion, bookmaking, and union control, the quiet, profitable engines of organized crime. He aimed to become a ghost in the machine, the invisible hand guiding the city's underworld. Dragna's power didn't come from gunfights. It came from control. His core rackets were methodical: extortion of Italian-owned businesses, gambling operations, labor racketeering, union influence, and later, bootlegging. Unlike the East Coast mobs, Dragna avoided flashy political corruption. Instead of bribing mayors or judges, he focused on mid-level officials, precinct captains, inspectors, and labor supervisors. Practical corruption, cheap, effective, and most importantly, quiet. Dragna also understood coexistence. Rather than dominate other ethnic criminal groups, he negotiated Jewish gamblers, Chinese tongs, Mexican gangs. Everyone made money, no one brought heat. This strategy kept Los Angeles calm and kept Dragna untouchable. Then came Prohibition. From 1920 to 1933, alcohol was illegal and incredibly profitable. Dragna mastered logistics. Liquor flowed north from Mexico through California into the hands of independent operators. He rarely touched retail sales himself. A typical operation looked like this: whiskey bought in Mexico for around $20, sold in Los Angeles for $80 or more. One shipment could generate the modern equivalent of tens of thousands of dollars. No violence, no ownership trails, no direct exposure. Dragna didn't want dominance. He wanted sustainability. And it worked. Jack Dragna's carefully constructed empire of silence was about to face its greatest challenge. While he had kept Los Angeles under the radar, the city's explosive growth and glamour had not gone unnoticed. By the late 1930s, the powerful East Coast Syndicate, a formidable coalition of crime families, began to look west. Figures like the strategic mastermind Lucky Luciano, his financial genius Meyer Lansky, and the politically connected Frank Costello saw Southern California not just as a new territory, but as a gold mine. It was a vast, untapped market, ripe for expansion and far from the intense scrutiny of East Coast law enforcement. They saw Hollywood's wealth, the burgeoning industries, and the potential for a West Coast gambling hub. They wanted a piece of the action, and they were prepared to send one of their most notorious figures to get it. Their man was Benjamin Bugsy Siegel, a charismatic and brutally violent mobster who had already made a name for himself in New York and Las Vegas. Siegel was the antithesis of Jack Dragna. Where Dragna was discreet, Siegel was flamboyant. Where Dragna avoided the spotlight, Siegel craved it. He was loud, charming, and utterly ruthless. A celebrity gangster who saw himself as Hollywood royalty. He didn't just want to run rackets, he wanted to be a star. Upon arriving in Los Angeles, Siegel immediately immersed himself in the glitz of Hollywood. He befriended movie stars like George Raft and Jean Harlow, throwing lavish parties at his Beverly Hills mansion and becoming a fixture in the gossip columns. This public profile was a direct affront to Dragna's code of invisibility. While Siegel expanded the syndicate's interests in gambling and racing wires, his high-profile lifestyle drew exactly the kind of attention Dragna had spent years avoiding. Then came his grand obsession, Las Vegas, with over $6 million in syndicate money, a staggering sum for the era. Siegel began construction on the Flamingo Hotel. It was a monumental gamble, envisioned as the cornerstone of a national gambling empire. But the project was plagued by mismanagement and Siegel's own extravagance. Costs spiraled out of control, deadlines were missed, and millions of dollars simply vanished. Back east, his bosses grew impatient. Suspicions mounted that Siegel was skimming from the construction funds, a cardinal sin in the organized crime world. For Dragna, Siegel's recklessness was more than an annoyance. It was an existential threat. The Flamingo fiasco was putting the entire West Coast operation at risk. The final straw was the arrival of Siegel's top enforcer, the notoriously brutal Mickey Cohen. Cohen was tasked with consolidating Siegel's control over Los Angeles bookmaking, a direct challenge to Dragna's most profitable rackets. The quiet war for Los Angeles was about to turn bloody. For decades, Jack Dragna's power was rooted in a simple, ironclad rule: stay out of the papers. His entire criminal enterprise was a machine built for silence, greased with bribes and quiet intimidation. It was a delicate ecosystem that thrived in the shadows of a sun-drenched city. But then came Mickey Cohen. Where Dragna was a ghost, Cohen was a spectacle. He was flamboyant, confrontational, and courted the press like a movie star. He didn't just break Dragna's rule, he shattered it, and in doing so, he declared a war that Dragna never wanted to fight. The clash of their styles was a clash for the soul of the Los Angeles underworld, and it was about to spill onto the city's most famous streets. The violence was loud, public, and relentless. In October 1948, gunmen opened fire at Scher's restaurant on the Sunset Strip, a popular hangout, turning a dinner spot into a crime scene. Less than a year later, in July 1949, a bomb detonated outside one of Cohen's bookmaking operations, an escalation that brought a new level of terror to the conflict. By February 1950, the war arrived at Cohen's front door, with a rifle attack on his fortified Brentwood home. Each incident was a front-page story, a screaming headline that chipped away at the foundation of Dragna's invisible empire. The city was watching, the press was watching, turning Cohen into a macabre celebrity. And now the federal government was watching. The brazen violence gave federal investigators, most notably the Kefauver Committee on Organized Crime, the public mandate they needed to descend on Los Angeles. The heat Dragna had so skillfully avoided for 30 years was finally on. The era of invisibility was over. Jack Dragna died on February 23, 1956. His successor, Frank DeSimone, lacked Dragna's discipline and restraint. Then came the 1957 Appalachin raid, where law enforcement accidentally exposed a national mafia summit in New York. For the first time, the government openly acknowledged the mafia's existence. Wiretaps followed. Informants flipped. The Landrum-Griffin Act of 1959 targeted labor racketeering, one of Dragna's strongest pillars. By the 1970s, longtime members like Jimmy Fracciano cooperated with authorities. Indictments piled up. And the old model, small crews, quiet rackets, couldn't survive modern law enforcement. By the 1980s, the Los Angeles crime family was a shell. Leaders like Dominic Brooklier and later Peter Milano presided over. Minor gambling, small loan sharking, fading influence. Meanwhile, the criminal world changed. Drugs took over. Colombian cocaine, Mexican heroin and marijuana, Asian heroin networks. Outlaw motorcycle gangs. These groups were bigger, more violent, and unconcerned with staying invisible. The Italian model couldn't compete. By the time Peter Milano died in 2012, the Los Angeles crime family was effectively history. Jack Dragna never ruled through fear. He ruled through discipline. His empire survived because it stayed hidden, and it died because it couldn't adapt. In a city obsessed with spectacle, Dragna proved that silence was power. And in the end, Jack Dragna didn't lose. He simply disappeared, exactly as he planned.